Yeah. Welcome back to pregame.tv. Saturday NFL playoff action. We've got the New Orleans Saints traveling to play Seattle. And guys, the Saints finally got the monkey off their back last week going into Philadelphia, getting a road win, something they haven't been able to do in the playoffs, something they haven't been able to do very often this year, period, on the road. But going into Philadelphia and winning with a quarterback, although he's a candidate for MVP. I mean, he's had a great year, no question about it. But you can't argue the fact this was his first ever playoff game. A lot of pressure for him, playing at home. You know, how much stock do you put in the Saints beating the Eagles and being able to go to Seattle now?
I would say that Riley Cooper, that pass that he dropped, that was 7 points. That wasn't just a completion. That was 7 points. He was gone. So probably the biggest drop of any drop in the 4 games from the past weekend. But, hey, give New Orleans kudos. They found a way to win the game.
Yeah, anytime you go on the road in the playoffs and win, you got to give them credit. And, I mean, it wasn't like they were lucky to be in that position. I mean, they played them just as well as they could. And the game was, as our friend Fezzik would say, it was a coin flip at that point. And you just have to come up, and the Saints won it.
What surprised me the most about that game on Saturday was the ability of the Saints to run the football as well as they did. That's something I didn't see coming, because coming into that game, Philadelphia, you know, we've beat them all year about their defense, but they're down the stretch. Their rush defense was playing as good as anybody in the NFL, and the Saints ran all over them.
Yeah, sometimes it's a matchup type of thing where a team's game plan is set at a certain way, and you know the Saints hadn't run the ball well all season long, and as the season went on, the Eagles got better defensively. You know, ESPN won't tell you that, but when you take a look at their numbers, they were far better defensively at the end of the season, and it was just one of those things where they were probably surprised that New Orleans ran the ball as much as they did. And to New Orleans' credit, if you're having success at something, you continue to do it.
I will say this, that, you know, I know, there'll be people that get bitter at their teams for losing. But when you look at the Philly-New Orleans game, you look at the San Fran-Green Bay game, there had to be a winner and a loser. I thought both those games were well played, very entertaining, great games. If I'm going to be upset as a fan, yes, I'm upset at Cincinnati. But San Diego's team took it to Cincinnati. But the only team I'm really upset, and I'm a Colts fan, but I'd be pissed off if I'm a Kansas City fan. That's the only team, really, their fan base should be ticked off. And I know they had a great season, but they have no business losing that ball game.
We'll talk about that game in a little bit. But you go back to Philadelphia game and the success that the Saints had running. Now you got to go into Seattle. And we know, you know, everybody talks about how hard it is to win in New Orleans in the Dome. Seattle, that's the toughest venue outdoors that there is, bar none. The crowd noise level there is ridiculous. Now, the Saints have the advantage of they're going back for a second time. That's one thing they can say, well, we've already done it. But the bad part is they got spanked. It was a Monday night game. So this is a playoff game. That was a Monday night game. The Monday night game, you know, the crowd's jacked up and everything. But the Saints had every advantage that you could possibly have going into the Monday night game. If you remember going into that game, they played the previous week on a Thursday. So they had from Thursday to Monday, you know, the longest prep that you could have without a bye week to get ready for that game. And they couldn't get anything going offensively. They scored on their first possession, and we thought, oh, okay, this is going to be a track meet. You know, both teams are going to go up and down the field, and then the Saints were done.
I will say this, that getting in a routine to where you know your amount of days in between game, so while we look at it saying, oh, you're getting extra rest, and that may come into play for a couple guys that are banged up, but they're off the routine because now you got those extra days. You probably got an extra day. You go out on the town, you know, because, hey, Thursday, I don't have to play till Monday. All of a sudden, you're off your regular regimen of schedule. So a lot of people ask me, why were there no Saturday games on the final weekend of the NFL like there's been in the past years? And that's because they wanted all the teams to have the same amount of rest in between the playoffs and the final game.
Well, you know what, Brian, we've talked all about it, but this is actually your free pick, so we got to let you say something. Let's make it official.
All right, we're going to take the favorite here with Seattle. Current line is roughly -8. Obviously, you don't want to lay 8 at this point. You want money to come in on the dog, and hopefully you can lay 7 here. I've already teased it down to 2. I think that right now that's the way you want to do it. But, Marco touched on this. You've got two of the strongest, if not the two strongest, home field advantages here, New Orleans and Seattle. And how many times we've done these videos, and we've talked about not wanting to go against a team at home in a game that has meaning. Monday Night Football, revenge, divisional rival, that kind of thing. And so I think this is a nice spot here for Seattle. And, last time they played Monday Night Football, the line was 6.5 in this game. Now the line is 8, 1.5 point differential. But the advantage for Seattle having that week off, I think, is higher than 1.5 points, at least in my mind. I like Seattle here. You take a look at comparable schedules here. The Saints are 3-4 against what I consider top-ranked teams, 3-4 straight up. Seattle 6-3. New Orleans outgains the opposition by 0.9 yards per play. Very good. But they throw the ball 63% of the time. Obviously, you're going to gain more yards when you pass the ball as opposed to running the football. Marco talked about last week's win at Philadelphia. That's the first road victory they've had on the season against a team that made the playoffs. They beat up on the Tampa Bays. They beat up on some weak opposition on the road. They did beat Chicago, but they did not beat a team that went to the playoffs. Seattle, I talked about New Orleans. Seattle, 1.2 yards per play advantage. They gain more than they allow. And this is a team who only throws the ball 48% of the time. So that's even more impressive. The last 7 games, Seattle's only allowing 11.7 points per game. The last 8 games, every home game on the season for Seattle, they only allow 13.8 points per game. I think they're going to shut down this New Orleans offense once again. This is just one crazy atmosphere. New Orleans struggled from it last time. Now, playing in a dome, New Orleans gets that loud the crowd noise, but it's a loud crowd noise when they're on defense, not when they're on offense. This is something different, and Marco pointed out they got crushed last time here. I don't think it's going to change much. Condolences to our friend Vegas Runner. This will be the last time he's going to have to talk about the Saints or worry about the Saints this year. I'm a big fan of the Saints, but I just don't like the matchup here. We're going to lay the points here with Seattle. But like I said, right now, teaser is the best part. Wait until game day. Maybe we'll get a 7. I think we got a far better chance of seeing a 7 than this game going up to 10. But I like Seattle either way.
Yeah, I got to agree with you as far as the teaser. And if they don't come in on the teaser, I won't be buying anybody lunches next week because they're my key will in my teasers this week, Seattle, with everybody that I'm putting in there. All right, you have that one. We're coming back next, pregame.tv. One more playoff game. We're going to take a look at the Indianapolis Colts, New England Patriots. That's up next, pregame.tv.